Hey everyone, I wanted to show off this hockey mask, the Jason mask that I painted. It's actually a what it's called a cheap Chinese mask. It's obviously from China. You can get it on AliExpress or eBay for like $4, maybe $10. I know AliExpress you can get a lot for $30. You can get 10 of them for $30. They're actually from a kind of a crappy mold. Obviously the mold is kind of stretched. You can tell, the best way to tell if it's stretched or to tell that it's a crappy Chinese mold is the holes down at the bottom. See how they're like really stretched out? Another way to tell is the snap on the side. It's actually not very, it's way too close. It's not very similar to, I don't know if you can tell in the photos over here, but you can tell they're way down. Like you'd be able to put your thumb through, but you can't here. But you know what? They're cheap. That's the nice thing. And the nice thing is they're really good practice masks, which is kind of what I wanted to do. I was bored. It's Halloween time. I figured, you know what? I'm going to paint. I'm going to paint a Jason mask. I've had it for a while. They come in a really shiny white plastic, and they're very thin plastic compared to say this one here. This is a remake mask. I haven't painted it yet, obviously, and you can tell how the difference. This is very thin. This is kind of a thicker. But you know what? It works. So I was going to make a YouTube video tutorial of how I painted it. Unfortunately, I get carried away when I paint. I get lost in it, and before I know it, I was already over halfway done. I didn't even hit record on the camera. So yeah, kind of screwed up on that one. Anyways, I figured, you know what, now that it's done, I'm going to show it off, do a little show and tell, kind of tell you how I did it, kind of just go breakdown of how I painted it and how it ended up like this. So, let's get showing the road. Okay, the first thing I want to do is show you a nice close-up of the mask. So you can kind of make it out. I'm kind of standing behind the camera here. You can kind of make out the details a little bit of it. Blood here. Let's see if I can get this in focus. Yeah, see right there, you can tell the difference. See the hole? It's really, they're not doing it right. These should be 3/16 hole. This, I don't know what the hell they're using for a drill. Kind of down here too. See it? Really stretched out. But that's the mask. There's the mask there. So, let's break it down. Tell you what I did. Okay, so the first thing I did with this mask, it was all white. So what I did is I took a little bit of kind of like steel wool, ran it all over the mask to kind of give that shine. I can't remember the guy's name. I don't know if it's like Big Hush or something on YouTube. I'll put a link to his videos as well. He does really great tutorial videos for these cheap do-it-yourself masks. And that was where I got the kind of technique from. The steel wool, kind of did it all over, got rid of the shininess of it. And then let me just grab it. We'll do a star wipe. Okay, we're back. So what I did after I got rid of the shininess, I gave it a coat of this right here, Krylon. Amazing stuff. Works really well. Bonds to plastic perfect. So what I did is I gave it a good shot of satin. I actually spray painted the back as well. You can kind of tell the messy back. That's just from handling it when I'm painting it and everything. And I was like, you know what? Kind of gives it an authentic, you know, blood soaked in from the inside after you get hit with the axe. Dirty from handling it. It's our little secret. And yeah, so I gave it a coat of satin. Boom, gave it a coat of satin. And then I mixed just some cheap dollar store paints, kind of old parchment, a little bit of yellow. Mixed it together, watered it down, took some napkins, paper towels, just went over it multiple times. Gave it this nice kind of off yellow. It's supposed to be Ford Sandshell is the original color of the mask, but I think it matches, kind of matches the color. So I did that first, and then I took a kind of like something sharp. You could do it with like a razor or something, and I just kind of carved carved in, like it's supposed to be cracked paint is what it is. Kind of carved it in, it's really tedious. But with this, I found with these masks, you can really chip the top layer of paint. Just don't go crazy with how many coats you do. And you can really get it down to kind of like what the original was. Because the original was a clear plastic. And so what they did is they painted the back white and then painted its kind of the forward sand shell. And then they chipped away the paint and rubbed it away, and it's the white shining through from the back. But this you can kind of mimic it. So I did that. Kind of weathered it, a bunch of charcoal. I don't even know what this is, Hippo Gray. So I did that, kind of gave it some weathering. I use little charcoal sticks right here. These little charcoal sticks, they work great for weathering. Did that, kind of chipped it away. Actually, these chevrons are from Fright Stuff, but JDF Studios has an awesome deal on them, and you can order them from there. That's where I'm going to get some more. I'll put a link in the description. And so I put the chevron on, and then I cut away at it to match the original. It's normally goes up this way. I cut it, dirtied it up with some charcoal so it's not so red. So I find these are a little too bright red, so I just kind of put a little bit of charcoal on it. Okay, after doing the chevron and the weathering, I gave it quite a bit of coat of, actually I started off first with the satin clear gloss, the acrylic. You have to be really careful when you put this stuff on, because if the spray paint that you use is not completely dry, or the acrylic, it gives you this weird kind of bubbling, saggy as an old man's balls texture on your mask, and the paint chips away. You can kind of tell right there, it did it right there, so I just kind of incorporated it into my design. But so you got to be careful, make sure it's really dry. So I first did a satin to give it kind of I do a layer of satin clear gloss, do a bit of weathering with charcoal, kind of pencil, had a little pencil stick. You can kind of cheat a little bit and draw in the cracks. Kind of sanded away that, did that, then do another clear coat, and then you get to the fun stuff. You get to the axe. Actually, I should probably tell you what I did there is I just took a pair of scissors here and I just cut out the axe hole. And in the original part 4 mask, this is kind of based on end of part 4 into part 5. Dick Warlock had the stunt mask, and in the original one in part 4, where I think her name was Trish, I can't remember, whatever, she hits him with a hammer when he's holding on to Corey Feldman through the window, and it actually cracked the mask. See, I got a little crack in it. Yeah, everyone thinks it's like kind of a drip of blood, but it isn't. It's actually a crack, and then the blood kind of got into it, so it makes it look like it's like that. So I did that, I cracked it. I actually just used scissors. Like I said, it's a very thin plastic, so it's kind of easy to cut. So I did that. And then eventually I got to the fun blood. So the blood was, you can see my bloody work here. I did kind of a mix of tomato spice, racy red, charcoal, black. I'm getting low on paints. So I did that, kind of did a layer, base it off these photos. Blood dripping down, a little bit of blood over here. And then I wanted to get the chunkiness of the like kind of congealed blood. So what I did is I put a little bit of cornstarch in the water and the paint, mixed it up, put it on, put a whole bunch of blood on there, kind of moved it around with my finger to get it all clumpy. And then I blasted the freaking thing with a gloss finish. And I did a lot of coats of gloss. I'm talking maybe 7, 8 coats. Spray it, wait 10 minutes, spray it, wait 10 minutes, spray, spray, spray. You gotta be careful, you don't want to do too much, because this will, the red will kind of go away, and then it gets kind of this cloudy. So you gotta be careful with that. But overall it worked, and that's actually pretty much it. Can't think of anything else that I did for it. Peeled away the chevrons, the snaps. Yeah. Get the dirty back, signed it, and I'm going to look at selling it. I don't know if anyone's interested in these. Like I said, they're cheap, you know, a little bit of work goes into it, but maybe 40, 50 bucks, might be able to get some money out of it. Yeah, so that's it. That's the mask. I'll do some close-up photos, give you an idea of the texture. But that is what I did. So you're basically looking at Krylon paints, Krylon acrylic coating, a bunch of dollar store acrylic paints, mix them together, water them down, run some brushes over them, run some towels over them, just kind of get it all weathered, and you can do that with these little cheap Chinese hockey masks. That's it. Now for the close-ups. So here's the mask here on a hood. This is actually a Fright Stuff hood, the economy version. I got it from Ken quite a while ago. I'm not sure if he sells any more of them. I think they've been sold out on the website for a while. But if you're wondering, that's where it is.